States and now taken the trouble to come to this conference. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to speak to you about the cow as part of our culture. We had been through almost 900 years of foreign attacks, aggression, loot, and in fact even foreign administration. Of that, 700 years of Islamic rule and 200 years of British rule, which really was indirectly the rule of the Christians. India, before the foreigners came, was not hostile to other religions. In fact, it's a tenet of the Hindu religion that all religions lead to God. There's no other religion outside India. We have other India-born religions like Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, and we also have minorities like the Jews and the Parsis who came from Iran. And there was never any report of pursuing people of other religions in a hostile way. And if there was any disagreement, they were sorted out by what Adi Shankara called as Shastrat, which meant debate. And when, for example, the British left India, they had gone to the Parsi community, the Zoroastrians, and said to them, "You're a small community, and the Hindus are in like an ocean, and therefore we would like to leave behind some constitutional guarantees which we'll extract from the Congress leadership to protect you like we have done for the Anglo-Indians, where 2 Anglo-Indians are nominated to the Lok Sabha, and 1 to the Rajya Sabha, 1 to the Lok Sabha. And we'd like to give you that reservation." So the Parsis said, their priests, that for 1,000 years we have been living with the Hindus. They looked after us. They met all our needs, such as helping build our temples. And we have never faced any indiscrimination or discrimination from the Hindus, and therefore we don't need your protection. The Hindus will look after us as they've always been doing. And you please go back to your country. We don't want you here. It's a great disappointment. The same thing with the Jews. They were persecuted, butchered all over the world. And Germany being the most extreme example. But there was almost every country, the Jews were targeted. The Jews came to India, some few thousand Jews came to India. We received them and gave them place to stay in Cochin and in Bombay. Built their synagogues for them. And they stayed for almost 700 years. When Israel was founded, refounded I should say, it is an ancient country anyway, it was refounded after the United Nations vote in 1948. And the Israeli parliament adopted its constitution. The first resolution they passed was to say, "Thank you, India, you're the only country which didn't persecute us Jews." So any religion which comes to India and peacefully lives with the Hindus, it's absolutely impossible to find the Hindus persecuting them or converting them or eliminating them. Christianity and Islam say very specifically, either my way or the highway. And in fact, Islam through Quran, the Hadith and the Sirah prescribe violent end to people who refuse to convert. So to tell us that we are being intolerant when we are pursuing our ancient tradition is an absurdity, and it has to be seen in the historical context. But we are recovering from these 1,000 years or 900 years of foreign plunder, loot, and forcible conversions, and so on. And in the process, we are beginning to discover our ancient truths and bringing them back one by one. We were told many falsehoods. One of the falsehoods we were told is that Veda, which describes Saraswati river almost 10 times more than Ganga, doesn't exist. And the British made fun of us, saying, where is Saraswati river? But in the last 20 years, thanks to satellite imaging and lasers, we have finally discovered that Saraswati did exist and presently is underground. And now the Saraswati has been dug up. And very soon you'll find Saraswati flowing to the Arabian Sea and the revival of Saraswati river. We were told Sanskrit is a dead language. But today, if you go to Google, you can see it. NASA has a journal called Journal of Artificial Intelligence. And in that they say, after a search over 20 years, to find out which language knowledge can be stored in a computer for artificial intelligence models, because every language has some imperfections which the computer gets confused with. For instance, English, when you say PUT, put, it is, PUT is put. But if you say BUT, it is but. So the computer gets confused by it. French perhaps is the extreme worst. I don't think it was ever meant for computers. And all the languages that explored did not have that compliance to the requirements of the computer to make it computer friendly. Finally, in 1988, Rick Briggs of the NASA wrote an article in Journal of Artificial Intelligence that now the search is ended. We have come to the conclusion that the most computer-friendly language is Sanskrit, and artificial intelligence called Sanskrit. What was derided by Macaulay as a dead language and written off as having any future in a modern world, today it's making a revival. I saw in the Google search engine that there is a school in London called St. John's School, very respected, highly rated school. And there the principal has made the reciting of Sanskrit shloka compulsory for its students from the age of 6 to 11. I had this matter inquired. I sent my VHS friends in London to check. And the principal told them that the reason I am making our students repeat Sanskrit shlokas is that repeating Sanskrit shlokas during that age group of 6 to 11 develops the brain as nothing else develops. And that is why I am insisting on their reciting Sanskrit shlokas. So little by little, we are discovering. We discovered calculus. We discovered the decimal point. We discovered algebra, trigonometry. In our entire history, which is at least 10,000 years, we never said that the world was flat and the sun went around the earth. Galileo made the mistake of saying, I think in 17th century, that it is not true. The sun doesn't go around the earth. It's the earth which goes around the sun. And the Italians beat him up, put him in prison, till he said, I withdraw my claim. But the Hindus never ever said that the earth is flat and the sun goes around the earth. All through they kept saying that earth is round, it spins and does the circumference of the, goes around the circumference of the sun's purview, and that there are other planets. They named these other planets. Even the stars. It's all there in the Puranas. So what today when I'm speaking to you about the cow is to place in perspective that the ancient wisdom is equally valid today. It is not something we have invented to harass the minorities or to show our hegemony in this society where today the Hindus are 82, Hindus plus other Indic religions like Sikhs, Buddhists and Jains together represent about 82.5% of the population. It's not an attempt at hegemony. It's that cow is an integral part of our economy. Cow is an integral part of our medicines. Cow is an integral part of our products that we need for building houses, for fertilizer and pesticides. Cow is our culture. That is the theme of your conference, and that is the background in which it is there. Now, it is not something that has been thought of by the Hindu fanatics to bring cow. It was debated in the Constituent Assembly. Mahatma Gandhi's view was sought by some of the members of the Constituent Assembly about whether we should go out of our way to include the cow in the Constitution, ban on cow slaughter. And Gandhi said, even more important than Swaraj or self-rule, freedom from foreigners, the most important thing for me, he said, was the protection of the cow, and it should be in the Constitution. After a lot of debate in the Constituent Assembly, finally Article 48 of the Constitution says that the government shall, as part of its responsibility of governance, pass a law banning the slaughter of cows. So it is there in the Constitution. It is not being imposed by any Hindu fanatic or any Hindu-minded party or any party which is wanting religious hegemony. And it was put in there because of this multi-dimensional value of the cow. This particular article was challenged in the Supreme Court as violating the fundamental rights of Muslims and Christians and others who wanted to eat what they wanted. And the Supreme Court in 1958 gave a judgment, a constitutional bench judgment of 5 judges, gave a judgment that first of all we make it clear that in India there is no such thing as an absolute fundamental rights to anything. All fundamental rights are subject to reasonable restrictions. And as far as religion is concerned, your fundamental right to worship is subject to 3 special conditions arising from public order, anything that threatens public order, out of morality, anything that offends morality, and anything that offends health. And that is on that basis that the Constitution, Article 30 says that there shall be no untouchability in the country, and striking down one of the tenets in Manu's Shastras. At that time there was a revolt of some sections, but it was pointed out that the Constitution will not permit any absolute fundamental right. You have a fundamental right to worship as you like, but it should be subject to reasonable restrictions. And that is the principle we applied in the case of triple talaq when we decided to ban it. It was a demand of 50% of the Muslim population, namely the women. They had been asking for the last 70 years. No one paid attention. And as technology improved, triple talaq technology also improved. You could be divorced by an SMS. You can divorce by an email. Therefore, the plight of the women became such that they could never tell when the husband, displeased, could divorce you and leave you on the street. And we then acted on the basis of another article of the Constitution, which is Article 14, in which we say all men and women are equal before the law. And on the basis of gender equality, we decided to abolish triple talaq, and the Supreme Court upheld our view as constitutional. I would like to tell you that any government which is based on wanting to bring a renaissance, in our case a Hindu renaissance, will never hesitate to bring the modernity of the Indian Constitution to bear on religious practices. As long as you do not have a religious practice which violates the other fundamental rights, such as equality, and those restrictions permitted, such as on health, morality, and public order, we will continue as a state to interfere in the religious practices of everybody in India if it offends any of the articles of the Constitution. As far as the protection of right to protect cows from being slaughtered, this is also a part of the reasonable restriction, and the Supreme Court in its 1958 judgment has made it clear. Subsequently, when the NDA came to power in 1998, in 2003, a former retired judge of the High Court, Justice Lodha, was asked to set up a commission and go into the entire history of the cow, and he wrote a the commission adopted wrote a 4-volume treatise on the status of the cow. And another constitutional bench judgment also said that eating a cow is not an essential part of any religion in India, including Islam and Christianity. So those who say that it is our right to eat the cow, of course, in my case, I would say I would only prevent you from eating Bos indicus. But if you want to go and eat something which looks like a rhinoceros, I have no problem. It is Bos taurus or any other breed. But the key breed is the Indian breed, which is called Bos indicus. And it is this we want to protect. And it is this which has the greatest contribution to make to our culture and to our economy and to our health and to our way we conduct our agricultural practices. So today I want to wish to tell you that this is an idea which was there in the past. We have reviewed it and we have come to the conclusion that it fits in with our modern principles, and it is something that we need to do for the sake of our society. It is not that only the cow slaughter is banned. There is another species we have banned by law, and no one protests about it, and that is the peacock. Killing of peacock is banned. If you're caught killing a peacock, then you can go to jail for 7 years. Because in that case of the peacock, partly because it was the vehicle of Lord Subramaniam or Kartikeya, as it's North India, Subramania is called Kartikeya. His vehicle, and therefore we said it has religious significance. But more importantly, because of its meat being so popular, its feather being so popular as to be made into a fan with which you can remove your heat. Therefore, it was becoming extinct. I would like to say that because of the sense, the vision of our sadhus and sannyasis of the past, giving the religious sanction to ban the slaughter of cows, the Indian cow, which is, Americans sometimes call it as the Brahmin cow. It has nothing to do with Brahmins or the Varna Ashrama Dharma. But still, that is the name by which it is called, for a long time has been called here. And this ban that was put in throughout our centuries, even during the period when the 1857 revolt against the British succeeded, the first farman that was issued by Bahadur Shah Zafar was banning cow slaughter with capital punishment for those who violated. When the Sikhs began to triumph and Maharaja Ranjit Singh went to far corners, including Afghanistan, to invade and conquer them, everywhere the first thing he declared was that there shall be a ban on cow slaughter. And today, we must recognize that because through the centuries this ban was there, this precious species has not disappeared. I have been a frequent visitor to China. I have made lots of friends there. I have studied China. When I taught at Harvard, I taught one of the subjects I taught was the Chinese economy. I learned Chinese. And I was surprised during my first visit that I could not get milk in China. They gave me soya milk. And when I went to Tibet, they gave me yak milk, which I could not drink. After taking one sip, I nearly fainted. So it was something I couldn't touch. But I asked the Chinese, how is it you are our neighbor and you don't have any cows in China? He said, and this Chinese told me, he's a professor, he told me, in your country you had banned it. So there are cows. But in our country we never banned it. So whenever famine came in China, the easiest animal to catch and kill was the cow. And that's how the cow disappeared. So therefore, you want to protect the species. You may motivate people by saying religious thing, that Lord Krishna was never without a cow. Lord Shiva has got the Nandi bull. Like that you can say. Or you can extol the virtues of Kamadhenu. But these are for explaining to the common man and getting his compliance quickly. And because of that, today we have 200 million cows despite almost 900 years of foreign occupation. And this is something we hold dear. Let me tell you, the Hindu civilization is unique. Because take the case of Persia, which is now called Iran. It was 100% Zoroastrian country. Islam invaded Iran, captured it, and established their rule there, and within 15 years converted 100% of Zoroastrians to Muslim religion, that is Islamic religion. Those who escaped to India are the only surviving Zoroastrians. But rest were all converted to Islam, and today it is called Iran. The neighboring countries to Mesopotamia and Babylon, which together today are known as Iraq. In 17 years after the capture, they were converted to 100% Islam. Egypt was converted in 21 years. And Europe was converted to 100% Christianity in 50 years. But India, 700 years rule of Islam, 200 years rule of Christianity, and you are still 82% Hindu or associated religion. Because we fought throughout. It's not there in our present day history books. These have to be changed. And but there was no part of India which did not fight. And they fought continuously. Earlier on they fought with swords and spears and even rockets. But later on, Gandhi led the opposition to the British and fought it through non-violence, because he felt we were totally disproportionately placed when it comes to military methods, and he thought this satyagraha was the only effective way of persuading the British to leave, and he succeeded. But the fact is that even Gandhi, for all his secular credentials, said to the Constituent Assembly that banning cow slaughter to me is more important than Swaraj. That shows how deeply the Indians, the Hindus have felt about it. And today, in new form, we are bringing it back. And we do intend to do it for the following reasons. First of all, we believe that cow is a great additional support for the economy, and particularly the agricultural economy. It is a great support for the healthy lives of our countrymen. It is also a very vital addition, provides a very vital addition to even construction of huts, because of the gobar, which can be converted into tiles and made into houses. And this has been demonstrated now. There was a Sarsang Chalak of the RSS by name Sudarshan. He once called what they called as cow-conscious industrialist meeting. And he persuaded these industrialists who were amenable to the idea of working to put cow as a central piece of the rural economy. And many of them produced these. Over the years, some of our scientists, finding our secular government in India not very responsive, came to the United States and got patent for cow urine as of medicinal value, as a arresting of cancer, and a variety of other things. You can see the US patent list by going to the patent office website, and you can download it. Otherwise, you can read my book, Hindutva and National Renaissance, which I published about 7-8 years ago, which gives you all the details of various patents that have been taken. China, surprisingly, has also given a patent for cow urine as a way of fighting disorders in the DNA. And that is patent for research. It's not yet been converted to use. So there are countries like New Zealand which are seriously considering that the so-called Brahmin herd or the Bos indicus should also be protected by a ban. The ban is necessary because Arab countries have shown in the last 30, 40 years of our country's history that the cow meat of Indian Bos indicus is perhaps the most delicious to eat. And therefore, there was a big demand for export of beef from India. And you would be surprised that for many years running during the Congress period, the export of beef was earning more revenue, except jewelry, diamonds and jewels and so on. The cut jewelry which we were manufacturing after getting the diamonds. The diamonds were number one, and number two was cow meat. And the government was giving handsome subsidies for it. And one of the first things I did after BJP came to power was to persuade the Commerce Ministry to withdraw those subsidies. And now the export of cow meat has come down to practically zero.